everybody. This is Carol Muleta. Welcome to the Parenting 411 podcast, where we share information parents need from sources they can trust. Welcome to the Parenting 411 podcast. Today, we're diving into a topic that's essential for every parent who wants to equip their children with tools they need to thrive emotionally and socially. Joining me today is Andrew Cannon. He's the co-founder of the Art and Science of Joy and EQ Joy Company. He has spent his career helping people understand their values. He's studied their behaviors and attitudes so that he can guide them in making better decisions. Over the past few years, he's channeled that expertise into the study of joy, helping thousands of people cultivate more happiness in their lives through his Year of Joy community. Can't wait to talk about that. His passion for joy doesn't start there. He's the creator of the EQ Joy card game, a fun and interactive way to help children develop emotional intelligence, build resilience, and navigate life with confidence and compassion. And when he isn't sharing the art and science of joy with the world, you can find him building his own joy muscle by spending time with his family and friends, enjoying music, exploring nature, and traveling. So today we're going to explore how joy and emotional intelligence can transform our children's lives as well as our own. So Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Carol. Pleasure to be here.
So, as I said, your work centers on joy and emotional intelligence. So tell us what inspired you to dive into that area.
A very good question. And I suppose it relates a lot to my own personal journey and my own struggle with joy, really. And so, without going through my whole life history, but to take you back, as a child, I was very joyful. I was known for my joy and for my zest for life and that. But then, like a lot of people, life gets to you and slowly, you end up having this joy stripped from your life if you're not consciously aware of that. And you wake up one day and find yourself, find yourself very far removed from joy. And I got to a stage where, outwardly I was very successful, work, family, everything. But inside I was hurting, and I didn't realize what was happening or what was causing it at that point, and ended up, basically self-sabotaging myself to an extent of destroying it all and almost destroying myself in the process. But fortunately pulled back from that decision. And then started on a journey to try and find myself. And it was on that journey that I ended up actually meeting a lady in Norway at some point who told me about this joy initiative she was working on, and that just sparked something in me. And I thought, well, I can use my research skills, I can use my talents in this area. And that sort of led me on this journey to then where I am today.
Now, how long have you been in this space?
Oh, crumbs. I suppose, again, because time warps with the pandemic, very much so, right? But basically, a little bit before that, maybe a couple of years before the pandemic hit, that's really when I've sort of started dedicating myself to this area. So whatever that means, 5 years maybe.
Okay. And you were talking about how previously, by all accounts, you had this great life. You were successful in your career. I'm just curious, what kind of work did you do before you moved into the joy and emotional intelligence space?
Yeah, no, I was very much in the business world, in the corporate world, really helping companies with their marketing, helping them sell more stuff, basically. So sort of understanding people from a consumer or consumption perspective, what makes people buy things, not buy things, and to use my knowledge in that space.
So then it sounds like this was really a pretty profound transformation for you, that you would make quite a departure from what you'd been doing before. So thank you for explaining that. I wanted people to kind of really get the picture of what this means to you. So
Yeah.
tell us about the Year of Joy community and
Hmm.
how it helps individuals find joy and then nurture it in their lives.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So the Year of Joy community is now basically a couple of years we've been running it. And it was born out of the idea that, yes, we've sort of understand what drives joy, what detracts from joy, but still many people struggle to build more joy, even if they intuitively understand what joy means. And
Hmm.
so as part of the research, what we've done is we've created what we call this joy barometer tool, which is a simple self-reflection tool which helps people evaluate their lives on different aspects to see, which areas are adding to their joy and which aren't, what they think is important to them and what isn't, and then are they satisfied with where they are at the moment in that area in that life. So that could be to do with their well-being, it could be to do with their sense of belonging, it could be to do with basically the experiences and the amount of fun they're having, or it could ultimately be to do with the amount of impact they're having on others. And so those are sort of the four basic areas that people can self-reflect on and then dive deeper into those areas of their lives. And again, we found out, yeah, great, they can come up with what we call this joy scorecard, which helps them visualize, okay, this is where I am. But the question then is, well, what do I do next?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so what we decided to do was to bring on board a large number. I think in the end, it was over 40 different subject experts to
Hmm.
join us and to inspire people with their content, with their wisdom, to start making changes in their lives. So we created this sort of online community where people come into the community and each week receive different inspiration, different empowerment tips, whether
Hmm.
that's to do with, how do I work with my friend relationships? How do I be a better parent?
Hmm. Hmm.
How do I work on my physical well-being and so on? And so we were able to activate these people
Hmm.
over a long period, but at the same time, build a sense of community, because that, for a lot of people, is
Hmm.
what they're missing. I think, when we did the original research, one of the shocking statistics was that as many as 1 in 12 people say they've got no friends. And
Hmm.
by that, I mean, people you could call on in the middle of
Sure.
the night to say, hey, help me. Right. And
Right.
so this loneliness, even the Surgeon General, compared it to more negative impact than smoking
Sure.
on the economy. Right. So this whole loneliness, we were able to create a community where people felt safe,
Hmm.
because part of the challenge, especially amongst marginalized people, is that in current social media platforms, they don't feel safe. They don't feel that they can express themselves
Hmm.
authentically. They don't feel that they can be themselves. And so therefore, these major platforms don't offer them a sense
Hmm.
of community. They actually offer them a sense of isolation, a sense of not belonging, which is kind of a
Right.
paradox in a way.
Right. What I like about what you're doing is that you're really encouraging people to think about joy, to think about their lives, evaluate their lives, and consider how much joy is in it a lot sooner. Because I think with wisdom, with age comes wisdom. You hear people all the time say, "Oh, after I turned 40, I became bolder. I,
Mm,
made these changes." And then they'll say, "Oh, and after 50, I've seen so much, I've done so much, I say what I want, I don't let people, mistreat me anymore and whatever." It's like you're waiting for to earn the right to create a life that you feel safe in, that brings you joy, that honors who you are as a person. And what you're saying is begin to think about that now and build the life that you want and that will bring you joy. And you're starting with children because, very importantly, at the top of this, you talked about how you were a joyful child. And then, as you got older, it's kind of taken away from you. I mean, the world gives you this reality check, and I think that happens to a lot of us. We kind of lose that curiosity, that sense of possibility. And I had a child that have a child that was very joyful, had this zest for life. It was a lot, a lot, so much energy, but I really wanted to channel that. It was very different from my natural personality, but I had to kind of show him situations where that will really work for him. And then also help him to recognize some situations that the focus is something else. It's not anything about allowing yourself to feel bad or putting yourself in a bad situation, but your joy isn't the focus in some situations. There are other people involved and other things that have to happen. So I just really applaud your work doing this. Previous generations would have never thought that they were supposed to create joy in their lives as a thing. So now, emotional intelligence is really a big buzzword. So let's talk about, as I said, why it's so important for children to develop EQ skills.
Oh, yeah, Carol, thank you for the kind words on the joy work and yes, emotional intelligence. I think there's a lot of science out there saying just how important emotional intelligence is as the foundation to resilience. And as we all know, resilience is foundational in turn to a strong mental health. And unfortunately, the statistics out there today show that a lot of children around the world are struggling with their mental health. And I'll just mention three statistics which break my heart. And one is that if we looked at 10 to 19-year-olds, and again, this is from research from the World Health Organization, that they estimate that as many as 200 million children in that age group are experiencing mental health disorders of one or more different types. And if we focus on the US, the CDC puts that number of 1 in 5 children, or approximately 10 million children, experiencing mental health conditions each year. And Carol, the one that ultimately, really motivates me to do something about this was from the research by the Healthy People 2030 initiative, which said in 2021, 1 in 10 students in grades 9 through 12 in the US, which is almost 2 million children, attempted suicide in 2021. Wow. And that just breaks my heart to read that statistic and say, this is not good enough. We, as society, we cannot allow our children to be developing with such poor mental health. It's just not going to be good for them. It's not going to be good for society as a whole. It's not going to be good for the planet. It's not going to be good.
Absolutely, because they'll become adults with mental health challenges if they don't take care of them sooner and learn how to create space for themselves to take care of and do what they need to do. Now, you created the EQ Joy game. So how does that work, and what makes it a really effective tool for teaching emotional intelligence? And I imagine it's not just is it just for children, or can it be sort of a fun adult game?
Yeah, so it's funny, as you say. I think all humans need emotional intelligence, and unfortunately, many adults, including
That's
myself,
why I
asked, struggle with it. Unfortunately, we're not so open to learning as the children, unfortunately. But parents, it's a great opportunity. So we focus really on 6 to 10-year-olds at the moment as trying to get them preteen. As like those statistics I talked about are really about the challenges that happen when you're adolescent. And what we want to do through the EQ Joy card game is to get the young kids to already get a grip on their emotions before the world's challenges hit them in those teenage adolescent years. And really, it's through the power of play. And it's super simple because kids just love to play. It's their natural
Mhm.
state. So when you can create an environment where they're learning through play, the learning happens so much better. There's nothing worse, I think, for a child than that moment or two moments. One where they're in the middle of a tantrum and their parents are trying to teach them, right,
Mhm.
about their
Mhm.
emotions, about why it's not good to hit your sister, right? That's not the time to do it. And the other one is then the next day you're in the car, the doors get locked, and the parent says, "Now we have to talk." And
Right.
the child shrinks in the back seat at this
Mhm. Mhm.
moment of
Mhm.
guilt and judgment that's coming.
Mhm.
So through play, you can deal with those types of situations in a way that's non-confrontational, it's non-judgmental, it's fun, right? And you end up getting to the same place, but
Mhm.
you end up doing it in a way that doesn't negatively impact that child's emotional self.
So it sounds then like there's a lot of interaction and communication during the game.
Yeah, so the game itself, when you strip it down to its basic form, we call it charades or Pictionary for emotions.
Okay.
So, you either do it by acting out, so you pick a
Mhm.
card and it says frustration, and then the child acts out a scene where they're frustrated, and the other children or the parents try and guess what emotion they're trying to
Mhm.
represent. And the beauty of the game is, whereas, I love Inside Out. If you haven't seen Inside Out 2, fantastic
Mhm. Mhm.
film, but it's on a very high level of talking about
Oh yeah.
joy, sadness, happiness. But the clue to emotional intelligence is to get down to the next level and find the
Mhm.
root causes, right?
Yes.
Before you get to anger, was it
Right.
disappointment? Was it frustration? Was it worry?
Uh-huh.
And the kids don't have the vocabulary, they don't have that ability to self analyze to that
Mhm.
extent. But through the game, they're able to pull out
Mhm.
this awareness and say, yeah, it
Mhm.
really was worry. And then
Mhm.
they can start to understand, well, what causes worry? How do I feel that in my body? How do I recognize the
Mhm.
triggers that are
Mhm.
starting to make me feel worried? Where's it bubbling up?
Mhm.
And then start thinking about, okay, I'm recognizing it. I can start to regulate it. I can talk about it. I can label it.
Mhm.
I don't need to transition into anger
Mhm.
or sadness. I can,
Yes.
I
I
can,
definitely like the
nip it in
idea
the
of
bud, nip it in the
mhm.
bud.
Mhm. I like the idea of leveraging their playful nature and also in a lot of ways play is work. Play is their work at an early age.
Mm,
So that's another great reason to put these exercises or activities within the framework of a game. I remember when my children were younger. I have twin sons. They're now young adults, and the one that
mm,
was just so playful and just so energetic all the time. I wanted him to calm down, and because we had to do something, and I was like, listen, I'm not playing. We need to do whatever. And I just remember him, he's probably about 4 or 5. And I remember him just kind of throwing his arms down and looking around. He's like, but playing is the favorite thing to do. It's like, oh, I mean, really, it was just an expression, but the idea that I wouldn't play with him was really problematic to him. And his teacher, his preschool teacher, once said, "I'm going to have to call your mother. She's going to come and you're going to have to go home if you don't do the work that we're doing here. Don't participate." And he said, "Well,
mm.
no, I'll just go home and then she'll come get me and I'll just play with my mom." Like it's just was so play was so important to him,
Yeah.
and he definitely went through the phase, like you said, of kind of tamping it down as he got older. But I see it. But he's a young adult, so I see it. I
Mm,
see it again. See that light. So I'm really, really happy that
yeah.
he's not allowing his adulting to take
Mm.
that away
So I think,
completely.
Carol, what's important here is that, we specifically wanted to get a physical card game where the kids and parents and grandparents could sit around the kitchen table again and actually interact. Again, especially from the pandemic, there was a situation where a lot of parents were even saying, I want to spend less time with my kids. You've been stuck in this environment where you were just forced to spend all that time together. And so, whoa, I need space. But we need to go back, and especially with the devices, it's so easy just to lock them in their room with a cell phone and say, go and learn about emotions, go on YouTube. There's more than enough information on YouTube. And this was really a question. No, we need to build that connection, that family that you can talk. Again, another statistic, I think it's as many as 4 in 10 kids say they can't talk to their parents about important issues. Right.
Wow.
And this helps them talk. With my daughter, we just have a pack of cards always by on the coffee table that, sometimes after she comes home from school, she'll just pick up the cards and just flick through them and just flow on the floor. Hey, I'm feeling this, and this. And then it gives us the opportunity to just talk about it rather than not have that ability to interact. So, the cards can be used just as that conversation starter as well to help the kids pull out what they're feeling.
Right. And develop an emotional vocabulary, and really, like you said, dig deeper to the underlying feelings that are there that are giving rise to what we see outwardly and the actions they might be taking.
Yeah. And then we inspire them through things like we have this thing called the Emotion Explorer Guide, where the parents and the kids can go online and sort of then together explore what we call planet fear or planet embarrassment. And there'll be content there, for example, music you can listen to, which sort of relates to that emotion, or there'll be a piece of art that you can look at and start discussing, well, this is what the artist was thinking, this represents sadness or whatever, and then have that discussion around, color and composition, and then start bringing that out into your real world and your own life. And when you watch a movie together or something, talk about afterwards which scenes created which emotions and how were those emotions expressed by the actors or actresses in that film. So, it starts making talking about emotions, just a normal part of your life with your kids. Right. And then it doesn't become a big thing anymore. It's just something you do, right? It's something we do. We as a family, we understand our feelings, and we're able to talk about them without shame or guilt or judgment.
Are you looking for a place where you can get the support, tips, and tools you need to tackle parenting? Join the Parenting 411 community on Facebook, your go-to spot for everything parenting. Get access to exclusive parenting articles, live broadcasts with expert insights, and a community of parents just like you, ready to share and connect. Plus, as a member, you'll get early bird access to special parenting programs and tons of practical tips to make family life smoother. It's free to join, and we're saving you a seat. Just search the Parenting 411 community on Facebook and click join. Can't wait to see you there.
And helping them to really be self-aware. Now, earlier you talked about resilience and how emotional intelligence can help build resilience. So talk about how they're interconnected in the way our children develop.
Yeah, it's about self-control, really. Very much that, we have a choice to either let our emotions be our rulers, or we are the rulers of our emotions. In the same way, we can rule our body or let our body and our desires rule us. Right? Our senses are very good at sort of knowing what they want. And if we're not careful, they can take control of us and use us in a way to get what they desire, instead of us turning them around saying, look, we have this ability to manage ourselves, to regulate ourselves. And therefore everything that happens externally is external ultimately. And if I can understand that, and if I can regulate through my emotions how I interact with the world, I become the master.
Right, right. That was a big
Ultimately,
word.
nothing that happens outside
Uh-huh.
has control over me.
Yeah, self-control was a buzzword when I was in elementary school, and our teachers would talk about you have to practice self-control, but it was really more, I need you to act right and do what I tell you to
Right.
do when I tell you to do it. That inner work was not really the thing. Just outwardly, I just need to see you get in line, form a line when I say so, or I need to see you working on your worksheet when I tell you to. And there was no discussion about our inner life and what we could have been experiencing. But my goodness, I remember that those two, self-control, self-control.
Yeah,
So,
but it really is that power, right? That internal power
mm-hmm,
to understand that, the world is going to hit you with these impulses all the time, right?
mm-hmm,
Thousands of times a day, you are going to have external pressures put upon you.
right.
And they will create feelings in you. And that's normal, right? Some things will
Sure.
make you sad. Some things will make you angry. Some things will make you frustrated. Some things make you worry. To accept and understand that, and then understand, okay, I'll let that pass through me and transform my state into
Mm-hmm,
a different emotional feeling,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
um, is our power, right?
Yes,
But
a
first
power.
of all, you have to first understand that initial emotion and not deny it, right? Don't deny
Sure.
that you're frustrated. Don't push it
Mm-hmm.
under the carpet. Don't pretend I'm joyful today, even if you're feeling
Yes,
angry.
right.
No, let that anger out, let it go, and then move on, move through it. And you'll
Mm-hmm.
realize when you practice this that you have immense power
Mm-hmm.
to totally manage how you feel about different things and change your emotional state.
When you talk to parents, what do they share with you in terms of their challenges about helping their children to understand
Mm.
their emotions and practice some control and power over those emotions?
I think there's a frustration around, communication with children.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of parents do just struggle to have that conversation, to talk in a way which balances that role of parent, teacher, friend,
Mm-hmm.
counselor.
Mm-hmm.
You all these different roles that
Mm-hmm.
you can play in this interaction
Mm-hmm.
with you. And I think that's a bit of a minefield for parents to navigate, especially in today's world where children seem to be growing so quickly. They're getting so much influence
Mm-hmm.
from social media, from digital devices,
Right.
from their peers, that, it's sometimes hard, I think, for the parents to navigate that sort of
Mm-hmm.
role, what is a parent in today's world. And obviously it's great resources such as yours which are helping
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
parents navigate. But I think, that whole digital device, and I'm not a great control advocate, I don't think
Sure.
banning
Mm-hmm.
things
Mm-hmm.
are the way to go. I think that these devices offer so much advantages in the same way as AI offers so much advantages, that we don't want to be denying the children the opportunity to
I
have these
agree.
tools,
I agree.
but to teach them the ability again to be the master. They are the master of those tools,
Yes,
not the other way around.
absolutely. Leverage
Yeah.
them for their benefit. Absolutely.
Mm.
Now, what are some simple ways that parents can help their children practice, excuse me, emotional intelligence every day?
Every day, every day. So, I think first of all, growing that vocabulary,
Hmm.
again, especially for the younger children, to get them beyond the raw basic emotions of happy, sad,
Mad, glad.
angry, to really have that deep dive conversation, in that sort of fun way of sort of, as I said, relating emotions to things they're doing, whether you're reading a book, whether you're watching a film together, to try and tie that enjoyment into afterwards a bit of understanding of what that emotion of the week was, right? Maybe you could say, okay, well, if the child is worrying about frustration or this week or disappointment because, they lost a big sports game last week, this week, let's have disappointment as our key word and see all the times that it crops up in different situations, not just the child's, but in the parents' situations. They can explain how they were disappointed with how their baking didn't work as it was supposed to work, or what happened at work was causing disappointment. So just make it really a natural part of their everyday life, that it's normal to understand and be able to label and express these emotions, but to do it in a fun way, right? To do it with a smile and a laugh, and to not take it so seriously.
Yes, that can be very effective. I agree. And I'm wondering, I know you talk about the building your joy muscle. So what does that look like? How can families make joy a bigger part of their daily lives?
Oh, well, in some way, again, we go back to the senses. I would like to start there. I like to think that, if we look at, I don't know, some people say we got 6 senses, some say we got 7, but even if we just got the 5 basic senses and we think about those, each of those offer each day tens of thousands of opportunities to experience joy.
Okay.
Right? What you see, what you touch, what you taste, what you smell, each of these experiences is itself an opportunity for joy. And obviously you can't take every experience as a joyful opportunity, everything you touch, everything you taste, but to choose deliberately now and again to say, hey, I'm going to eat this apple, and I'm really going to eat this apple with a sense of joy of experiencing the texture, the flavors, the savoring of it. Or I'm going to just step outside my door and I'm just going to spend 10 seconds trying to identify a sound that makes me feel joyful, whether that's just a little bird or a car engine or an airplane because you were thinking of going on holiday, and just really just in that little moment say, yes, that brings me joy, and just to feel that little smile either externally or just internally in that moment. And if you're doing this enough times during the day, you'll find that these little micro doses of joy will add up to an overall sense of joy, no matter what the big stuff's going on. If you can cultivate these micro moments of joy,
I like that. And it takes discipline, especially in this digital age. I was at a restaurant yesterday and I noticed that everyone that was there by themselves, they were eating, but they were looking at their phone. So they're just putting the food in. But like you said, in that moment, you're not really taking in the texture, the true flavor, and considering what spices were used. How delicious is this? And is it fulfilling my hunger? That kind of thing. We just don't do enough of that anymore. There's so much multitasking going on that can stand in the way of our joy, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I don't think it's not refined people on their own dining. I'm amazed at how many groups or families dining all have their devices out and are talking to each other. That's and again, I would definitely say device-free meals is the way to go.
That was definitely the case in my house. No devices came to the table, and we had great discussions about what was going on in the world. And we, as parents, we could share our experiences and talk about how we grew up and then compare that to what's going on. So yeah, I've treasured mealtime, and I'm so glad we were able to really eat together quite frequently, especially in this time, in this day and age. Now, what are your go-to practices and activities for staying connected and to joy in your own life?
I think, again, a good one for parents is gratitude and forgiveness. So I would recommend, something I do with my daughter still is before, the last thing we do before going to sleep is to say three things we're grateful for today, any things we didn't like, and always start with the things we didn't like. So we can let them go. We recognize them. We don't say every day is a perfect day, but today I didn't like this. I didn't like how we had this argument over something stupid or whatever, and then we forgive each other and we close that. And then what are we grateful for? What are three things that we really were happy for today? And to close the day each day with that positive sense of gratitude is my number one. Number two is to train myself each morning to believe each day is a new day, new beginning, a blank page. Right? No matter what happened yesterday, the sun has come up today, and I can be different today. I don't have to repeat my patterns of yesterday. And it's hard because, especially when you're living with a family, they will have expectations of who you are, Carol, as a mother, who you are as a wife, right? Whatever your role is, people put these expectations on you. So change is hard.
Yes.
But ultimately, you still have that power each morning to wake up and say, right, today I'm going to try. I'm going to be different, I'm going to start the day differently. I'm going to move through the day. And one of the things that I use, for which I'm really grateful for the digital devices, I set my alarm to go off at different moments through the day to actually play a calming piece of music for me to help me recenter myself and find my inner peace. So to reflect on how the last couple of hours gone. Am I happy with how I've behaved, how my thoughts have been? Do I want to adjust the clock, my internal clock, over the next couple of hours? And because I find the day gets to you, right? You just get busy. And even if you start with great intentions in the morning, by the time you've had Zoom call number 7, you've lost it, right? You lost the plot. Right. So having these little micro reminders to say, no, I can take 30 seconds now to breathe. I can take 30 seconds to self-reflect on, am I being the best version of myself today? And have I found joy in the last couple of hours through my senses?
I like what you said, especially about waking up with optimism about the new day. And that's something I talk to parents about as well, about turning the page. Just before you go to bed, kind of evaluate the day, how things went. Maybe there were some temper tantrums, maybe some power struggles or some things that didn't go so well. And just think about what you wish you had done differently, maybe, and you're just going to get a new opportunity. And also to hand that down to your children, I found, because even when the day didn't go the way you expected, maybe they acted out and you couldn't follow through on some plans that you had, maybe something fun, but you had to leave because of the behavior. I felt like it was always important to tell them, we're going to have to leave now. We'll try again tomorrow, or we'll be able to come again. And so that they know too, that they get another shot at trying to be who they needed to be in that moment.
Yeah. So another experiment, I don't know if you've ever done it yourself or any of your listeners have done it, but there's something called the yes experiment, which I think actually ended up with the film The Yes Man made as a base from it. But basically to try for a period of time. Now I've tried it for a month to basically say yes to everything. And you'll find that it's amazingly hard. It's amazingly hard that we so often say no as our response.
Sure.
Now, you don't have to say yes to everything as a parent, otherwise your kids will cotton on very quickly to this thing, right? But your initial reaction should be yes, and we could do that next week, or yes, and once we've done this, we'll have the ice cream, or whatever, right? You can conditionalize things, but the initial response is yes, not no. Because so many kids are conditioned to have no as the response, and that really does beat the joy out of them, because they want to do things, they want to explore, experience, they want to have life, and every time a no word comes up, that is another drain, another cut on that joy muscle. And so if you as a parent can practice your initial response to be Yes, curiosity. Yeah, that's interesting. Never thought about that. Let's consider that. Let's talk about it over dinner.
Right,
Right.
right.
And so there's so many ways you can conditionalize this yes response as opposed to that, no, don't have time, we're too
Knee
busy.
jerk,
No, we've got to do this. No,
response.
no. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how unfortunately kids get again trained not to talk. Because they just don't want to hear that, right? So they'd rather not suggest anything
Right.
than be faced with another no. Well, mum's going to say no to that, so why bother? Right. And it might have been a great little catalyst to an idea that your mother would say, well, hold on, but yeah, when we go on vacation, let's make sure that, that's in our vacation plan. Let's write it down. Let's do it.
Right.
And then that becomes something everybody's looking forward to now. It's becoming something hugely valuable as a family experience, whereas you could have killed it just with that simple no.
No.
We're too busy today to do that.
Well, how can we follow your work with EQ Joy and empowerment of children and families with joy?
Yeah, excellent. So obviously social media, EQ Joy, there's only one, so you're not going to struggle to find us on social media. Also, the website, there's eqjoy.org is our charity website. And then eqjoymasters.com is the website where all of the material on emotions, all the emotional planets. So if you want to go there and explore Planet Fear, you want to go to eqjoymasters.com. And the reason we've done that, Carol, is because that version of the game is focused on 6 to 10-year-olds. We're in the process of developing an 11-plus-year-old version. So that will have, as you'll see if you go to that website, there's little aliens and planets. A lot of teenagers would roll their eyes already at that stage. So we're developing, maybe not zombies, but something with a bit more interest to the teenagers and all adults even in the room. So we'll have a different set of content for that older age group.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Andrew, for sharing your passion, your incredible insights and tools for nurturing joy and emotional intelligence in our lives as well as our children's lives. And as you spoke about so clearly, when we equip our kids with essential skills like that, we're really giving them a foundation of resilience, compassion, and just lasting happiness that they can create in their own lives. And I talk about resilience a lot in my work with parents, and those who are listening likely know my story as the mother of a child with learning differences, and they know the place that resilience holds in my own parenting as well. And so I talk about it in what I call my mini motherhood memoir, Mother's Work, Pearls of Wisdom and Gems from My Journey. And you all, can grab a free copy at mothersworkthebook.com. It's mothersworkthebook.com. And as I said, it's free. You just pay for shipping and handling, but you'll also grab my webinar, Do You Hear Me? Staying Connected in the Chaos, along with the companion workbook that has complete exercises that you can practice with your children. And I just encourage everybody to take Andrew's advice to heart and start building your family's joy muscle today. Thank you for listening. Like, share, and subscribe to the Parenting 411 podcast. Share this episode. And remember that it's never too late to be the parent that you want to be. Thank you. And I can't wait to talk to you all again next time.
We bring you this episode for the purpose of information and entertainment only. It is not the intent or purpose of the Parenting 411 podcast or Carol Muleta to provide an exhaustive reference or guide on all aspects of parenting, childcare, and family life. You are strongly encouraged to read all available information, consult medical or other appropriate professionals, and pursue all reasonable means to learn as much as possible about parenting to complement what you gain here, and then tailor the information to meet your individual needs. Yes, parenting is a serious matter, though it is not an exact science. The context and insights offered in this and every episode represent an account of knowledge and personal experiences of the host and any featured guests for the viewers' and listeners' information and consideration. The host and guests do not guarantee to our viewers or listeners any specific parenting outcomes from this episode or taking actions described here.